Yeah.
Well, let's just have a chat.
Okay.
And see how it goes. So yeah, do just tell us who you are, where you're serving.
My name is Abby. I am serving as a stay long-term member in Ecuador in South America.
Brilliant. And tell us about someone you're working alongside that you see is a good example of wholeheartedness.
I think for me, when I think about wholehearted, it's about giving our all to God, in a sense, no matter what the cost. It's being willing to lay down everything, to sacrifice, to walk the hard road for the sake of the kingdom, because Jesus is worth it. And so, see so many examples of that kind of in the local church, local Ecuadorian Christians who have such a heart for evangelism, such a heart for sharing about Jesus, for getting alongside people. And my Ecuadorian parents, the family that I lived with for the first year, they're both so committed to getting out into particularly the areas where most people don't want to go, the toughest areas, the hardest areas, and particularly reaching children and young people with the love of God, and encouraging them that there's a different way, that they don't have to get caught up in the cycles of violence and the cycles of gangs that's so common in Ecuador, particularly in Santo Domingo at the moment. And they kind of, they've counted the cost, they know the risk of going in, and yet they're willing to serve wholeheartedly, because for them that's the most important thing. And I think that's really inspiring for me in my walk with Jesus too.
That's amazing. It's so good to have those kind of examples around us and see them locally where we're serving. How have you seen God at work lately?
Hard to know where to start. I think encouragingly, lots of different examples I could use, but I think kind of coming back on home leave currently makes me reflect back on the past 2 years of service in this case. And I think there's stuff that you don't necessarily see at the time in the moment, but can kind of look back and see how God weaves it in and uses it. And just reflecting on some of the opportunities I get as the short-term coordinator for Ecuador. So kind of placing step teams, placing striders that come out, and not particularly planned, but just seen kind of a real continuity in a ministry in the jungle communities, kind of in the Amazon region of Ecuador. Amazing lady who's kind of committed to living there long term, lives as the locals do, and reaching those communities with the love of God, with the good news, a place where there's not the presence of a local church yet. And she's kind of committed to those communities, to those families. And we kind of started a link with them in 2022 with a stride placement there. And there's always kind of been that opportunity there, but then that sort of built momentum again in the last couple of years. Had a summer step team out there last summer, and now we've got a strider couple serving there for 2 years. And just starting to see some of the doors that God's opened, the way that that's moved from initially kind of educational support and reaching the children through music, has now kind of paved the way where they're opening the Bible with the kids every Sunday, they're connecting with the families, they have a prayer and worship night on a Tuesday evening, and really kind of brought people along that journey to be introduced to Jesus. And I think seeing that kind of long-term fruit that's starting to come out of those shorter-term connections at the time is a real privilege and a real joy. And I think the longer I'm there, I kind of get to see how God weaves it all in and uses different people at different times with different skills, different strengths, all to build his kingdom. And that's really encouraging.
It really is. So being a short-term coordinator, as we call it, you do get to have that kind of oversight. What else makes you really passionate about seeing people come on mission?
Every time people just grow so much in their personal walk with God, and just such a joy to get a front row seat into that and sort of walking alongside people. The first few months is always really hard because they're suddenly taken out of their comfort zone, out of, away from their support networks, their family, their friends. And I always have to say, I know you will turn a corner, it will get better, even though it's hard at the start. But then they always do. And people's reflections is always that it's the best way of learning to rely on God, of learning to trust him more, of learning to go deeper in the faith when everything else is stripped away. And I think, why wouldn't you want to take that opportunity to step into that? I think it's so easy to fall back into our comfort zones, to do things we're comfortable with, to rely on the people that we've got around us. And God created us for a community. God created us to be supported. That's not a bad thing, but it's amazing to see what God does when people take that step of faith, of stepping out, of stepping away from their comfort zones, of stepping into something completely new, when all they can do is rely on God and see him time and time again. We've never had a situation where that's not happened, sort of thing, like God shows up and people really strengthen and deepen their relationship with him. And I think that's for me, that's one of the most exciting parts. And I think it strengthens people's faith both ways. The people that receive striders and steppers on the ground, they're so encouraged by seeing people's faith and stepping out, seeing people's commitment to following God, seeing what God does through that, and seeing how that encourages people's faith and introduces them to faith. This jungle community I mentioned about kind of had a host family who don't yet have a personal faith with God. They're kind of open to believing in God, and had a step team to stay with them, and just so struck by the way the girls would worship. They would pray together, they'd study the Bible together, and they were able to bring something of the presence of God into that space, which is going to impact that family for years to come, we trust. And so, lots of exciting aspects and, really encouraging aspects of being involved.
Are there specific needs right now in Ecuador, would you say, for people to be able to step into that?
Always,
yes.
Let me think of some specifics. I think, various different opportunities depending on what stage and age and point of life people are at. I think there are opportunities for people to come for 6 months a year, get alongside kind of local projects that are already running, particularly around that kind of passion for sharing God, sharing from the Bible. We've got some projects where locally they've got kind of professional people they employ, they've got a full staff team, but they can't justify kind of paying somebody to bring that spiritual side, or to do devotionals with the children, or to run Bible classes. So I think that's where we come in, that we're not going to replace somebody who would be employed locally, but we can bring that spiritual aspect. We've got one project in Quito where they would love to have somebody. We had a strider and they left, and they said, oh, what do we do now? And that's really hard when you can't kind of provide somebody else straight away. But somebody who's got a passion for sharing about the Bible, sharing about God with children and young people. We've also got projects that would really appreciate people with kind of entrepreneurial business backgrounds, skills in generating funds. There's lots of projects that have had the blessing of kind of being supported from overseas for years, but are getting to the stage where they need to be self-sustaining, they need to generate funds locally, and empowering organisations to be able to do that, bringing kind of ideas, ways of generating funds locally would be really, really valuable to somebody with an entrepreneurial spirit, creativity, business kind of background,
professional
to bring that
skills,
professional,
to bring
to kind of commit to a couple of years to get the structure in place that can then kind of carry on. Would be amazing.
People who can go and then do themselves out the job.
Because
they're building up the locals and taking their ideas and the local skills, and then building on that with these other ideas, and together building something that's more sustainable for the long term. That is brilliant. How can we be praying for you right now as a Latin Link community?
I think for wisdom, that's always my first prayer, that I will be open and attentive to what God's saying, to where he's leading, to how we keep responding well to the needs of the Latin American church, to the Ecuadorian church, to be attentive to the changing times in mission. Where is the Latin American church at? And how do we continue to walk alongside and equip them and enable them in stepping into God's mission, which maybe is starting to look slightly different from what it sort of has looked like. And so I think wisdom to know, how to kind of respond well to that, how to adapt and change and improve where we need to, but to be led by God in that.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, just to finish, we're going to do a quick fire, this or that.
Okay.
Okay, are you ready? Okay, we're going to do a bit of Ecuador versus UK.
Oof.
Okay. Encebollado or fish and chips?
Encebollado.
Bolón de verde or samosas?
Bolón de verde. I'm a bit biased.
Helado con queso or a 99 with a flake?
Oh no, 99 with a flake.
Okay.
In that case,
Santo Domingo or Welling Garden City?
Oh no, don't make me choose.
And the Andes or the Lake District?
The Andes.
Red, white and blue or red, yellow and blue?
Oh. Red, yellow and blue.
Oh, she's committed to Ecuador, folks. This is not to do with Ecuador. Okay, modern lively worship or older hymns?
Modern lively worship.
Piano or guitar?
Ooh, guitar.
Direct flights or with a stopover?
Direct flights.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much.
Questions. Thank you.